Oh, thank you, China, for exposing the truth. So now that you guys have found out reps are in fact real.
What? Reps are real? No, this is crazy. It's become a crazy world right about now. Now, if you don't know what is going on, I don't know where you've been. I don't know what rock you just come out of. I don't know what secluded island you've been on, but it's been a bit crazy. And when I say crazy, it's about America and China.
Let's say China.
And to be honest, it's going off. And when I say it's going off, I mean it's going off. At the moment, it seems like China's just gone nuclear. Now, you may think that's a bit extreme, but let's start at the beginning and understand what happened and what was the reason for China doing what they're doing.
Long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. If you look at that, China, first row, China, 67%. That's tariffs.
The number is so outrageous, it's very hard to believe. Because numbers this high just start to lose all meaning.
245% tariffs on Chinese imports.
Because escalating US tariffs from 10% to 20, then to 54, then to 104, then to 145, and now presumably to 245. That's for all intents and purposes only a few steps away from declaring infinity tariffs.
So this all started on April the 2nd, the so-called Liberation Day, when Trump said to the world that America not having it anymore, things need to be changed. Tariffs are going to be slapped on to everyone. Now, this is from Make America Great Again. Now, this is something that Trump, through all his campaign, he's been saying. And this is the start, or one of the starts, of what he's trying to do. Now, to be honest, it's affecting the whole world. I don't know about you. It's affecting the whole world in the way this is going about it. But China in particular has been the main direction in terms of what America want to do. So how does China respond to this?
I think the United States, in launching such a global trade war or tariff war, is doing the wrong thing. It has not only significantly eroded the living standards and the quality of life for the American people, it has caused a disruption in the stock market, in the bond market, and a complete disregard for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of so many countries in the world. Well, if you hold a gun at the head of anyone, most people will panic and will be desperate and probably will do what you command or dictate for them to do. But whether they are willing to do that, whether they really respect your authority or control, that's another thing.
But the problem is that in this scenario, to use your metaphor, the US has the bigger gun. And so China ends up having more to lose from this trade war, doesn't it? You know, it can't sustain the loss of 15% of its export market, i.e. what you export to the US.
Not at all. China is fully prepared to fight to the very end because the world is big enough that the United States is not the totality of the market in the world. So if the United States wants to go in that direction of completely shutting itself out of the China market, be my guest.
Yeah, and China will lose the US market, which, as I've said, is 15%.
We don't care. We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States, and we survived. And if the United States wants to bully China, we will deal with the situation without the United States.
Dr. Victor Gao's response is crazy, to be honest. It kind of made me chuckle because it just shows that China is saying that they don't need America. They got other countries that they can work with. So I thought that was interesting. And I don't know if that was the response that Trump had. And I thought, to be honest, what does that mean? What does that mean? And then TikTok went off. And I'm not sure if this was of China's design or the manufacturers are just saying, you know what, I'm not into that. We need to still make money. So what they're saying on TikTok?
Who are the suppliers behind Salomon, Timberland, New Balance, Adidas, Nike, la 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 la? First, Baocheng Factory, one of the world's largest OEM sports shoe manufacturer. It is like a Foxconn in the shoemaking industry. During its heyday, it has over 100,000 employees in just one of its factories in Dongguan. What even surprised me is that it owns an independent brand called YY Sport. It's like a distributor for sports shoes like Nike and Adidas, same as like Foot Locker in America and JD Sports in England.
China, thank you for exposing the truth. So it's official. Now that you guys know that reps are real, I am going to show you exactly who I used to get all of these items. And I'm talking like for dirt cheap, like super cheap. Now these guys, they're essentially Amazon but for China. These guys literally have everything on here and they go by the name of Joygoo. Whether that's shoes or luxury bags like these, they've literally got everything.
Now, as I'm a sneakerhead, obviously I'm going to focus on sneaker brands. And to be honest, to hear this is crazy. Or is this something that we kind of said, yeah, this is happening, but we accept this from the corporate brands, from the Nikes, from the Adidas, from the New Balance. Well, not New Balance, because I think that's mainly made in America. You know, from the other OEM brands. You know, is that something that we knew about already?
They're selling $2 Nikes to get back in America. The American luxury goods market is completely cooked because of this whole trade war with China. If you don't know, most luxury goods in America are mostly made in China. And now that America has put some pretty wild tariffs against China, China's about to wipe out the American luxury goods market. They're doing things like flooding the market with extremely cheap Nikes. This is because China makes Nikes. So instead of letting Nike have the shoes and sell them in America, China's cutting out Nike and selling them directly at a massive discount. And Nike isn't the only thing they're doing this with. Luxury brands like Chanel, Gucci, Prada, right now they're all at risk of having the same exact thing done to them. Imagine you get the same bag, same quality, same everything, but instead of paying like $1,100 for it, you pay the same price you pay for a great value purse.
They are teaching us how to order directly from the manufacturer to avoid tariffs. What started off as a tariff war ended up being good for the consumers. Most of us already knew that name brand shoes were made in China. What we didn't know is that it only costs as little as $10 per pair of shoes. That's a markup of 15 to 20 times per pair. With invitations to order direct from the manufacturer, consumers are saving thousands. We're learning that luxury items aren't made in Europe, they're made in China. If what they're saying is true, in Europe, they just put their name brand on. I recognize these name brands and they go for over $200 a pair. Notice the price tags on these purses. Direct from China, they go for as little as $1,400. I don't know about you, but it makes me feel like never paying full price for name brand again. Who knew the tariff war would end with a bang? I'm going shopping, that's all I'm saying.
Now the question is it good for the consumers? Is it good for the consumers? Really, is it good for the consumers? Because you may think, okay, cool, I can order directly from China. But what does it mean for the brand? Now, what you can't forget is these companies, the Nikes, the Adidas, and what you can't put money on is their designs, is the ideas. And that's probably the most important things. Okay, yes, the labor it takes, the materials that are used to manufacture, but without the ideas, without the design, without the trying to keep things fresh, moving things forward, then what is happening? You know, because at the end of the day, what China is putting out is as a result of someone's idea, someone's design. So that is something to keep in mind. That is definitely something to keep in mind.
Reps are not real. Can we stop trying to use this China and US beef in terms of the trade war as a reason to say reps are real? Stop this propaganda. If you wear reps, you're wearing something that's fake, something that's illegitimate. It's a counterfeit product. Stop trying to use this little thing that they got going on to try and justify your reason for spending £20 on some Air Forces, man. And let me get this straight. There's nothing wrong with wearing reps. You can do so at your own prerogative, man. You're saving money by buying the £20 Air Force as opposed to paying full price £100 for a pair of Air Forces. You're smart, my friend. But let's please, this is what I hate the most, man. When people in the rep community try and lie, or now they're trying to use this China and US trade beef as propaganda for their own motives, trying to say the now the counterfeit products that they're buying are real. It's not an authentic product and it physically cannot be, despite the fact that allegedly it's made in the same factories. If it's not being authorized or signed off as an authentic or legitimate product by the right sources, and if you look at the QC from stuff from Sugar Goo, whatever other sites you were buying it from, Panda Buy, brother, it's not the same QC as the ones I'm buying directly from Nike.
Now, to be honest, all I could save a buck is a lot of money. So on the other hand, I would say brands, especially big brands, need to also take that into consideration. Sometimes when the economy is going all over the place, sometimes when there's, let's say, turmoil, then some of these companies should absorb some of these costs and not always pass it on to the consumer. But what we're seeing is a lot is being passed on to the consumer. So the consumer pays the brunt. And because, unfortunately, as Western world, that's me and you, we're a bunch of consumers. We always take, buy, love the easy life. This is the result.
Chinese producers are all over social media right now, and they're exposing just who is targeted by Trump's tariffs. And it's not the American consumers, and it's not the Chinese producers. It's actually our international corporations who have sold out American prosperity for their own profits. Let me illustrate. Let's use this example at Nike. Now, these are fictitious numbers just for example, but let's say that Nike buys shoes from this company that manufactures Nike shoes for $10 a Nike shoe, which isn't very far off. Nike turns around and sells that shoe at retail for $100. Here's the interesting part about tariffs. You're not paying tariffs on the retail price. This is not a tax in the classic sense. The way the economists who are bought and paid for are trying to conflate it as. It is a tax on the import. This means with a 25% tariff, Nike's going to have to pay $2.50 to the US government every time it imports a Nike shoe at $10. So this $2.50 gets remitted to the American government, to American citizens. Now Nike's cost $10 for the shoe, $2.50 for the import tax. This means they're netting $87 per shoe. Now that's net, not profit. There are going to be other costs that are going to have to come from that. But you can see that the increase in cost is $2.50. So let's say that Nike passes the entire cost onto the consumer, even a little more just because of the fear of tariffs. $103 a shoe now. That is the impact of a 25% tariff. So what the Chinese producers on TikTok are saying, instead of the American consumer buying it for $103, or let's just say that the company Nike eats all $2.50 of the tariff and still sells it for $100, you're way better off over here, paying directly to China, including the tariff, $12.50 a shoe plus shipping. So as you can see, the tariffs are not meant to hurt consumers. They're not meant to hurt China. They don't really affect China at all. They're meant to protect American industry. They're meant to protect Americans from their corporations who will sell them out for a profit. So if you look hard, you'll notice that the people who are screaming about how bad tariffs are for consumers, it's these companies right here.
But is Trump's plan working? Now, from a stock market perspective, no. Yeah, it's all over the place. You know, where we was up, let's say a month or 2 months ago, everyone, that's no one's excluded. Anyone who's in the stock market, you're down. You are definitely down compared to where you was. You know, some people were on double, if not triple, what they are on now in terms of profits that they could have been achieving right now. So it's not good. Now, in the long term, with the American first, is that going to benefit America? We don't know. We have to find out because it depends on who comes to the table. Trump has said that 75 countries have turned up on the door and ready to talk. 75 countries. But has China come back? And have they come to say, you know what, we're ready to talk?
The Trump administration claims that 75 countries have been calling them up saying, we got to make a deal on the tariffs. You're killing us. We want to make a deal. Which, of course, is remarkable that it's exactly 75, not 74, 73, not 76 or 77. It's that nice divisible number, 75. And, of course, the Trump administration refuses to tell us any of these 75 countries, nor have they told us what deals they're working out with them. They're mum on literally every detail other than the number 75, which means it's totally believable, right? Nevertheless, there is at least one country that they have confirmed won't call them. And it's the country that has the ability to screw the United States more than all the other countries combined. And it's the one that's already levied the highest tariffs on us. We've levied the highest tariffs on them. Folks, it is none other than China.
China!
And that has not happened. China are doubling down on what is happening, or doubling down on the rhetoric. Now, at the moment, the tariffs are around 145%. That's crazy. That's crazy numbers. Again, does it benefit America or does it benefit China for what, these trade wars? At this moment, we don't know. But from China's perspective, on China's position, they're saying they don't care.
Yeah, and China will lose the US market, which, as I've said, is 15%.
We don't
You
care.
can't...
We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years.
But I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to leave it on the last thing. Now, I saw this clip, which kind of leads me to think, you know what China is doing is kind of wrong, because everyone else is following law and legislation. But China, in some cases, is not. So despite it being cheaper, despite now you can go, there's people are saying you can go directly to China and start buying stuff. Is it fair? You want these companies, these brands, to carry on? Do you want these brands to remain? Do you want these brands to continue producing? I'm not saying they're going to go down, because they will find other means. The business must go on. Everyone should know that. When it comes to business, the business will always find a way to carry on, because the business must go on. However, this will take a significant impact in their profits. And we might not see it now. And the only reason why we won't see it now is because they will have stock. So they will get rid of the stock. But in the future, when it starts manifesting and hitting, this is where potentially where costs could go up. If Nike was producing only in America, it's going to be expensive. Okay, New Balance, you can say that is reasonable. But the question is, New Balance, do they push the numbers that Nike push in terms of units sold? They don't. So you will see a significant difference.
So nobody's talking about China like you are. Why?
Because I've lived it. I've lived it for almost a quarter of a century. The way it works, let me be very specific so it's just not noise, okay? Let's say you have a great innovation here in America. Somebody comes along and creates a product that reduces the cost of maintaining a hotel bathtub or sink by 30%. A company like Drainwig, it's just a very simple technology that you put down.
We call it Roto-Rooter here.
Yeah, but this actually is something that you put down the drain, and then you pull it out every 90 days, throw it away, and put another one down. But it's patented, and it was made in China because that's where the mold was. What happens is, as soon as a product like that hits 5 million run rate in the American domestic market, so it's a proven winner, it's a winner, it gets knocked off in China. And let's say I'm just giving you numbers. Let's say you spend $100 million developing the product, okay, in R&D in the United States. You raised the money. You're an entrepreneur. You worked 8 days a week. You worked your tail off, and now you got a hit. Not every product's a hit, but this is a hit because it's proven itself to 5 million. It's always around 5 million this happens. Boom! It gets knocked off in China. You find it on Alibaba at 30 to 40% discount, and it's on Amazon too, and it's being sold in retail, sometimes under the same name in the U.S., retailers. And it's a small company that just got started. The Chinese knocked it off, ripped off the IP, don't even care. You can't go litigate. You can go to the World Trade Organization that they agreed to back in 2000 to be part of, and there's rules about that, but they ignore them all. They've never, ever, ever complied, not once, and there's thousands of complaints at WTO. I mean, I could just go on with a litany of reasons why this, and finally, I'm pissed. I'm really pissed. Enough, because you can't cheat and steal forever, and we've not given them a single consequence. Nothing happens to them when they do this.
Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Yeah? But this is going off. And to be honest, it's interesting and it's our eye opener. Alright, until the next video.
fun.